So Kim Jong-un just traveled from North Korea to Beijing, China on a train for 20 hours. So in this video, we're going to be talking about this trip, what he went there for, why he traveled by train, what is this train all about, and also what's the history behind this. There's a couple of interesting things you will find out along the way. So in this recent trip, Kim Jong-un was traveling down to China for China's Victory Day celebration. And this journey from Pyongyang to Beijing took about 20 hours. If he had flown, it would have just taken about 2 hours. It's like a flight from Cape Town to Joburg. But this is not any normal kind of train. Number one, this is an armored train. So this train is so heavy that it can only travel at about 60 kilometers an hour. Can you imagine traveling at that speed to get anywhere? My wife and I, when we travel to other cities here in South Korea, like if we go to Seoul, if we take the bus, depending on which one you take, it could take us about 5 hours to get there. And that already feels like a lot. But if we jump into the KTX, which is like their speed train, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. But 60 kilometers an hour. Eish. But in this train, like any other long distance train, there are bedrooms for people to obviously sleep in, because it's not just him, it's his family, depending if they're traveling with him, and of course the teams that travel with him. But not only bedrooms, there's also an office or offices. There's also conference rooms. There's also satellite communication, so that in real time he can be in contact with Pyongyang, his team in Pyongyang, which is the capital of North Korea. And let me say, some of this train looks really well kitted out. I mean, there's even a section that carries or holds his Mercedes-Benz, his vehicles. And these cars are also armored vehicles. So when he travels with them, wherever he arrives, wherever he's going to, that's how he moves around. Now, in the past, he's also made trips like this. For example, he went to Dalian and to Beijing also before. This was like 2018 and 2019. And then also in 2019, he went to Hanoi. Now, Hanoi is in Vietnam. The Hanoi trip was to meet with Donald Trump. So he's done this before. And by the way, the train's name, I forgot, is called the Sun Train in English if you translate it. But there's also a sense of tradition behind why he travels by train, because both his father and his grandfather preferred using train travel. I mean, his grandfather felt that using a train showed some kind of steady form of leadership. That was the symbolism that went with traveling by train. In fact, Kim Jong-un's father, Kim Jong-il, actually died traveling in a train. This was while he was doing some trips across the country, visiting various sites, military sites, things like that. But nevertheless, on one of these journeys, while he was traveling, he ended up dying of a heart attack in this train back in 2011. What's also interesting is that Kim Jong-il ran the country from 1994 to 2011. But what's interesting is how he ended up taking over the country back in 1994. So his father, the grandfather of Kim Jong-un, his name was Kim Il-sung. He died in about 1994. So Kim Jong-il, he assumes the responsibility of leadership in 1994, but he doesn't officially take over positions of leadership until 1997. And the reason why was because they had to have a 3-year mourning period for the passing of his father. Very interesting, not something that I've ever heard about before. But other reasons why some are saying that they didn't travel by plane and rather chose train was because a lot of the planes in North Korea are actually very old. And you don't want to pull up in China, knowing what China's doing at the moment, with an old plane. It doesn't look very good. So the armored train makes a lot of sense from that perspective. But also, some are saying that there's been a trend in dictators having a fear of flying. So that's why they prefer ground travel, whether it's by car or by train. By the way, this Victory Day celebration today is basically going to be a massive military parade. And it's also the first time that these three leaders, or the leaders of these three countries, China, Russia, and North Korea, are going to be meeting together in 66 years. The last time that this happened was in September 1959. But this was also a time when they were coordinating responses to the Cold War era, which I know very little about, so maybe we'll make a video about that. We'll see. All right, but all of that being said, I'd love to know in the comment section, what do you guys think about Kim Jong-un traveling by train to Beijing? What do you think of the train itself? And I mean, where you come from, whatever country that you are in, what form of transport do you prefer using, whether it is local or traveling to another country? I know that in South Africa, it's very difficult for us to travel around by train because it's not the best form of transport. I used to use it back when I was in my college days, back in like 2014 or something like that. I used to travel every morning at about 5:30 in the morning to go to college and then come back again by train afterwards. And I went right down to the last stop of the train station, and that was like in Strand. But nevertheless, I used to use the train very often and I quite enjoyed it. I still enjoy it very much these days. But in terms of safety, a lot of people know that it's not the safest way to travel. Although I also want to know, I haven't been there in a while. Has anything changed? Has the quality of the trains changed back at home? If you are from Joburg, have you used the Gautrain? How do you feel about the Gautrain? Do you feel like it needs to be extended and expanded to other parts of the city? Are there plans to do that maybe? I don't know. But that being said, I look forward to seeing your comments in the comment section. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss the next video.